Welcome everyone to this edition of Quantum Marketplace. This is QED-C's program aimed at spotlighting and showcasing some of the outstanding companies that are emerging and playing in this important space. We're hearing in the news every day about advances that are being made, about investments on both the public side and the private side. And some of the key players are the ones that are just getting started and are taking some of the fundamental advances and moving them into practical application. It's a really important part of the whole innovation and value chain. And we're pleased to have several companies that are in that space today. So I know I'm going to learn a lot. I'm looking forward to learning about these companies. I know a little bit about some of them, but want to know more. And I'm sure all of you do as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark Wippich to host today's Quantum Marketplace. Mark, over to you.
Thanks, Celia. So let's get into this. Again, you can go to the Quantum Marketplace website and the YouTube channel via the QR codes there. Okay, so emerging players in quantum computing. So we'll have a number of Quantum Marketplace updates, give a quick overview and trends in the space. We'll get into our lineup, then we'll have a spirited roundtable panel discussion and then upcoming events. So the Quantum Marketplace is a platform for raising brand awareness, facilitates collaboration, deals, and partnerships. There's a web page on the QED-C website. It's publicly facing. You can see all the companies there and have profiles that are QED-C members. And if there's a pink icon next to the company, that means they've also participated in the Quantum Marketplace. You can also go to the YouTube channel where these recordings will show up later for future viewing. So some overview and trends. This is the lineup. We have, Quantum Startup Foundry is part of the QED-C, and they have a number of companies that are partnering with their Foundry. NanoQT, PolarisQB, BosonQ, and BEIT. Again, you'll be able to see this on YouTube/Quantum Marketplace in the future. So I want to go back to, what is the computing stack? Going back to classical, I'm referencing David Shaw's, look at this, from 1990s. I'm not going to go into detail here, but just to give everybody an appreciation of how this is evolving, right? So from the classic compute to the modern high performance HPC to quantum basic stack to the emerging quantum stack. And without getting into the subtleties here, we're going to talk about this again in the panel discussion. But one of the companies, NanoQT, is really operating at layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3 in the future quantum stack. And then we have Polaris operating at 6 and 7. Boson 5 and 6, and then BEIT 3 through level 7. Okay, in terms of lineup today, we have Piotr, the director of Quantum Startup Foundry at the University of Maryland. We have Masahashi, who's the CEO of NanoQT. We have Abhishek, who's the CEO of BosonQ. Bill Shipman is the CTO of Polaris, and Wojciech is the claims as chief physics officer, but he says his work is being more and more chief product officer. So with that, Piotr, let's get you on.
I'm Piotr Kulczakowicz, director of Quantum Startup Foundry. QSF is a 2-year-old business accelerator servicing quantum technology startups. We are in College Park, Prince George's County, Maryland, located at the University of Maryland. Our mission is to spin and stimulate a vibrant quantum commercialization ecosystem in Maryland. QSF is providing platform to attract quantum startups to our region, to Maryland specifically, and Prince George's County, to QSF, and to incubate quantum spin-offs from University of Maryland. The nation's capital region network of academic institutions, government labs, and businesses is really a global powerhouse in quantum research, innovation, and commercialization. At the center of this capital of quantum is the University of Maryland with its 9 quantum research centers that are often partnerships with other institutions. As an example, Joint Quantum Institute is a partnership between the University of Maryland and NIST. QSF provides home for quantum innovators and entrepreneurs, and the bridge to those, and then we bridge to those regional and UMD resources. Collaborations and partnerships with external parties are at the core of our activities and our platform. QSF founding sponsor included EY, IonQ, and MITRE Corporation. And QSF has close relationships with the Maryland Department of Commerce, Prince George's County Economic Development Team. We are developing collaborations with various service providers. Since the inception in 2021, we're just over 2 years old, QSF has been launching programs that cater to needs of quantum startups. Our approach is flexible and agile. Our programs evolve and adapt to changing market conditions and cater to specific needs from startups building relationships with QSF. Our relentless focus on startups considering locating their business in Maryland or otherwise partnering with QSF is already providing interesting results. Over the past 19 months, we conducted 3 virtual training sessions focused on non-dilutive grant funding for over 15 companies. The third and expanded cohort was open to foreign businesses to learn about doing business in the US and especially with the US government. QSF hosted participants of the third pre-traction cohort at the Quantum World Congress. And the program is also a vehicle to establish longer-term relationship with startups and entrepreneurs interested in Maryland as a location for the business. Traction program is tailored to specific needs of companies. This includes lab and office space, help with soft landing, and most important, connectivity to Maryland and regional network of quantum players. A key partnership with direct impact on startups participating in Traction is the one we have with QLab. QLab is a partnership between IonQ and the University of Maryland. It enables direct access to the latest generation of IonQ hardware and collaborations with QLab experts. QSF facilitates access to QLab and its experts for participating startups. Finally, one cannot underestimate the importance of connecting quantum startups with capital. Discovery Fund, it's a UMD-based, University of Maryland-based investment fund that was created at the same time QSF was born, has keen interest in investing in select quantum startup founded traction companies. To facilitate development of relationships with investors, QSF organized 2 local quantum investment summits. The recent event in April 23rd doubled in size, and we had 19 startups showcasing their commercialization pathways. With that, Quantum Startup Foundry is looking to develop new partnerships and connect with more quantum startups. You will be welcomed in Maryland. Please feel free to reach out to me to start the conversation. And thank you for your attention. I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Masashi Hirose. I'm CEO of Nanofiber Quantum Technologies. We call it NanoQT for short. Today, I am joining you from Tokyo, Japan. It is my great pleasure to talk about NanoQT today. Let me start from a couple of highlights about NanoQT. NanoQT is a very early stage startup founded by last year with research seeded by Professor Takaoki's research at Waseda University, Japan. We're the first startup in Japan to develop QPU, quantum processing unit, for quantum computing and networking. And we are actually the very first startup in the world to utilize optical cavity QED, which is quantum electrodynamic system. Lastly, we are backed by the first fund from Waseda University Ventures with $1.4 million last year, and are currently expanding our team and operations with this support. Let me introduce the NanoQT team. We have 3 co-founders in NanoQT, including myself. Top left, we have Professor Takaoki, the key person behind this invention of these technologies. Third photo is Dr. Goban, our CTO, a brilliant scientist and people leader, integrating the cavity QED system with the cold atom technique. He was educated and trained at Caltech under Dr. Jeff Kimball and Dr. Junier Agila. Below of Dr. Goban, you see Richard Ogawa, who is American prominent patent lawyer in Silicon Valley. Additionally, we have 5 top-notch PhD scientists who joined this year, and we expect to make double our team size in the coming year. NanoQT's vision is to develop the quantum network. To achieve this, we are developing so-called the connectable quantum processing units, which can operate as both quantum computer and also quantum repeaters. Our QPU is quite unique in terms of capabilities to be connected and integrated into optical fibers. We believe that these capabilities will be the key to elevate scalability to the next level, enabling distributed quantum computing and quantum repeaters. So what are the key challenges in developing quantum computers? We believe that these arises from 2 aspects. First, we need to develop QPU, which operates in a distributed setting to enable the protocol such as entanglement swapping, purification, and quantum memory. In addition to that, we need to realize the functionality to achieve large-scale deployment and integration, such as the variability of telecom wavelengths around 1.5 micrometers, room temperature operation, and a low-loss integration into the optical network, fiber networks. So how do we tackle these challenges? Our approach is a combination of 2 distinctive approaches. Firstly, we use neutral atoms as a qubit, specifically ytterbium atoms, and we believe that neutral atoms is a great candidate as qubit because it's identical and it's scalable and also has a long coherence time with a long-lived nucleus spins, and also photonic qubit is available at telecom wavelengths. With those great properties, we combine the neutral atoms with proprietary manufactured nanofiber cavity QED systems, which enable us to realize the strong interaction between neutral atoms and photons so that we can realize the efficient information exchange between these 2 qubits. Lastly, let me briefly talk about our outlook. As I mentioned, we are still in the early phase and are currently developing machines to achieve proof of concept, expected to be completed by FY25. Following that, we plan to integrate these technologies to launch the first product of connectable QPU before FY27. And we are expanding our operation and aspiring to become a global presence. As a first step, we are in discussion with parties in the US, including Maryland Quantum Startup Foundry, to seek collaborations and expand our R&D operations. Additionally, we're interested in collaborating and especially around the exploration of applications using distributed quantum computing and quantum networking, as well as software development. If you have any inquiries, please reach out to me as contact shown here, and thank you for your attention.
Perfect, very good. Sorry for the delay of game. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bill Shipman, CTO and co-founder of Polaris Quantum Biotech. Really happy to be here and talk to everybody today. So Polaris is the only computer-aided drug design company using quantum annealers. We were founded in Durham, North Carolina in 2020. In the summer of 21, we raised our seed round for $3 million. During 22, we validated our platform on 15 projects, both for internal assets as well as for commercial customers. Very excited that we've launched our SaaS offering in the second quarter of this year. And the key takeaway for Polaris is we are dramatically decreasing the time and cost associated with early drug discovery. So, primary industry challenges, finding novel molecules. Right now, modern technology allows industry to identify new targets for therapeutic action. But having a target, having a protein doesn't give you a new drug. You actually have to find a new complementary drug that will bind and provide some efficacious action. So there's no real clear way to monetize a discovery without a drug. Time is money, especially in the race to develop new drugs. A new discovery has a finite shelf life. Because clearly your competitors are out to win the same race. So If we think about traditional approaches, looking at off-the-shelf chemistry, that significantly limits the patentability of the compounds you might find. Also, traditional approaches are limited by conventional computing, which is limited to thousands, tens of thousands of molecules. Industry has a steeper hill to climb than ever, both looking for new drugs that are both better and have fewer side effects. How does Polaris address that? By using quantum annealers, we're able to look at trillions and trillions of molecules instead of a few thousands that industry would look at in conventional approaches. This gets us around both issues of patentability and search space, so we're really able to find lead-like compounds that are relevant for drug discovery. So using quantum annealers, the advantage that we get from using a quantum annealer is that we can resolve multiple features at the same time. Features might be bioavailability, synthesizability, target binding, all in a single step. And we're delivering these results in a time order of 1 to 2 days. This allows for faster iteration, exploration of targets in a very efficient manner. Currently, we have a demo, a white paper, and a write-up in Nature Biopharma Dealmakers. The QR code shown here links directly to that Nature write-up. So, how are we delivering results for our customers? First, what we've been running for 3 years is our fee-for-service model, what we call in-depth partnering. This is using industry conventional terms. This offering is targeted for small and mid-sized companies who generally have 1 to 3 targets. These might be either university spinouts or other small companies that have a limited pipeline. The molecules we are delivering are ready for synthesis and testing and further maturation. The new offering that I alluded to earlier, our SaaS offering, QUAD, quantum-aided drug discovery, is targeted for big pharma to team up with existing wet lab and computational capabilities they have. This should be viewed as an enabling technology, allowing them to look at much larger chemical spaces in a shorter period of time. This fits a specific need within the industry to leverage emerging technologies while staying competitive with their peer group. So, to bring it all together, Polaris is pushing to make new drugs faster and more affordably. We are delivering both fee-for-service for our partnering customers, as well as recruiting beta customers for QUAD, that is our quantum SaaS offering for small molecule discovery. For the investors in the audience, we do have a note open. We're raising $2 million to continue the growth of the company and stay in operations. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Myself, Abhishek Chopra. I'm the founder and CEO of BosonQ Psi. BosonQ Psi is an enterprise SaaS software, which is a startup leveraging quantum algorithms that is accelerating advanced engineering simulation to design high-quality products faster and more economically. We currently are working with customers from the mobility sector, namely aerospace and automotive, in the US, which is our headquarters. We are based out of upstate New York, and then Europe and India as well. We have raised capital through investors and government grants. The startup is founded by engineers and mathematicians who bring unique insight into how industry-relevant simulations can be solved by quantum algorithms. Myself and Ruth, as tech founders, we bring combined experience of developing simulations on CPU and GPU and performing them on complex systems such as F-35s and eVTOLs. The team has now grown to 23 members, which comprises of subject matter experts from simulation and quantum domain, as well as industry veterans with experience of commercializing advanced simulation tools and quantum technologies. The problem that we are targeting is how to perform those massive and complex simulations that are infeasible to perform by industries using traditional tools. Some of the examples as shown here. Right? So simulation tools are vital for any product, new product design and development, and is a market that is poised at 21 billion. But there are many simulations which industry would like to perform but cannot due to them being complex, expensive, and time-consuming. This opens a massive opportunity to tap into a market of 49 billion with currently no players in it. And that's where BosonQ Psi is making its mark. Why is it big? Because when industries don't solve these simulations, they run into expensive recall issues as shown here. Now, we at BosonQ Psi are developing BQ-Phi, which is the SaaS simulation software integrated with quantum algorithms. And this is what will unlock that 70% of the simulation not possible before. The way we are making it possible is the quantum algorithms which are integrated into the simulation solvers, making the simulations faster, better, and more economical. Now, this is what is happening today, where you have the simulations with classical algorithm being performed on current HPC. Now, with BQ-Phi, simulations integrated with quantum algorithms can run on even today's HPC and give 1 order of magnitude performance improvement. When quantum computers are ready, then we will take the same algorithms and run on this hybrid infrastructure and get 2 to 3 orders of magnitude performance improvement. Let me show you with an example. Here we did a case study with Maruti Suzuki on this one part, which is made out of aluminum, 4 in number, so adds considerable weight to the car and hence its performance. So the goal was, how can we reduce the weight by removing material? And that's what we did. Now, after we got the result that is shown here, we compared our results with classical simulation software, and we got 7% more weight reduction at 1/8 of the cost, which translates to about 500K in material saving and about 29K in HPC cost. But this is just one component. A car has hundreds of these components, and if we scale up to a car level simulations, we are talking about a material saving, which is about 252 million, and about a HPC cost, which is of 50 million. Now, today, we are doing things at engineering design optimization side of things. We are also doing R&D effort to solve partial differential equation or FEA solvers and CFD solvers. So the plan is to continue to build this entire pipeline of products, first with quantum-inspired approaches, which gives 1 order of magnitude performance improvement, and then with hybrid approaches and eventually with fault-tolerant approaches. Now, product is horizontal, so all of these modules that we develop, even with one physics module, we will be able to sell it to many different industries. Just for example, the design optimization we are doing, the same is used by aerospace and the automotive, with minor changes going from industry to industry. Our ask is we are looking for customers in the mobility sector and also collaborations with other quantum companies and other customers with SBIR and STTR grants, as well as in Innovate UK grant. Thank you so much for your patience listening, and happy to take this conversation further offline as well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Wojtek Burkot, CPO of BEIT. As Mark said, P used to stand for physics, now it stands for product more and more. We are providing substantial speed up to quantum advantage, the moment where quantum computers will take over because of their increased performance for hard tasks. Our aim is to get 20 times advantage over competing solutions, and we work across multiple layers of the quantum computing stack. You'll see the expected gains by the arrows pointing to different layers on the stack in the illustration. We are playing the IP game because nobody now can tell which platform and when will provide business quantum advantage. We are bringing this moment forward, or alternatively, we'll be helping to tackle problems 20 times bigger than otherwise possible. We partner with major NISQ and fault-tolerant hardware makers. Currently, we are already providing 8 times advantage through better decomposition of multi-control gates in the quantum programs. Our world best result is 7-qubit search on IBM's Guadalupe versus competitors struggling with 4-qubit search on similar platform. We collaborated with other quantum startups like Q-Control, using their better qubits and gates, as well as their post-processing on top on our better decomposition. We are using the, actually, we planned on something which used to be a plan B. Now it looks like the gap fill for the time before the quantum advantage. We are having the quantum inspired offering ready to be used now, delivering significant speed ups over competing quantum annealing solutions. We help Polaris to actually make their cost smaller using our stack rather than what they are using now, with some early promising results. We can do spare parts warehouse management, we do fleet management, and we also eat our own dog food. Namely, we use our annealer solutions to optimize our quantum gates for the future. Those techniques are available now. You can go to AWS and use them. And don't be misled by the fact that the illustration shows just the one product. Different APIs inside provide access to both exact solver as opposed to the annealer, as well as fully connected annealer being able to tackle the largest problems currently being tackled by other hardware. We are also preparing a much larger annealer able to tackle the optimization problems not being possible before. By the end of the year, we'll be having the specific hardware platform running our largest annealer to 100,000 variables and 200 couplings per variable. Our theoretical work leads to 3.6 efficiency gain over our best solution today at the moment of quantum advantage, which we estimate at about 200 fully error-corrected qubits. We have proven that mathematically. And if you want to know why we are saying that we are better than the optimal Groover search, please ask the question. We have advanced work in more efficient encoding and decoding fault-tolerant systems. And we protect all our work with the patents, starting with the US and then moving to other geographies. We have currently 30 patent applications, placing us in top 10 globally as far as the quantum software patents are. Rather than us, I'm presenting our pathway to market. We are rising now 3 million from Tensor Ventures. We closed 1.3 of this. We are seeking paid contracts in POCs, tools, resource estimation, and quantum-inspired solutions, which are available now. We got 3-year runway, assuming some revenues, and recently 2.5 million euros grant awarded by European Innovation Council. This is pretty prestigious award this side of the pond. Next round, we plan within 2.5 years, being based on robust IP portfolio of more than 30 patents granted in that time in 4 patent families, revenues, and the European Investment Council, the other part of the deal being investing 50% of our next round up to $25 million. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to discuss this more. I'm Wojtek Burkot, Chief Physics Officer of BEIT.
Thank you. Excellent. Okay, let me get into the panel discussion now. So, in talking with Piotr at QSF, you've all of you have already raised over $2 million. Some of you have talked about this a little bit, but what's next? And Masahashi, why don't you start off with that?
Yeah. Yes. So as I kind of mentioned, our startup is still like early phase, and again, another 2 years, we do not expect to launch a product. We need to really push the technology development with the the current financing. So that's our first priorities right now. Okay, great, thank you, Bill.
Thank you very much. So what's next for Polaris? So we've got a 3-year track record of delivering results for our conventional fee-for-service customers. There's a lot of interest in the pharmaceutical and biotech space for how to leverage quantum computers, but they are such a different beast from the classical training that most computational chemists who are at the end of the day, our primary touch points in this space. We're very excited to be launching Quad, the SaaS offering, and looking forward to growing that so that we can interact with larger players in the space.
Okay, great. Abhishek?
Yeah, for BosonQ Psi, it's really about the traction now. We have done early POCs. Now we are getting into design partners. Design partners is basically early customers who are starting to test our product, give us some challenging problems, seeing business value. Looking forward to launching the product in the first quarter of next year. And then the goal is revenue. So like basically being an enterprise SaaS from there on.
Okay, and you're raising more now?
We are not currently raising actively. We have things already in the pipeline, like funding coming in the pipeline. But we will be raising actively towards end of this year, to starting like January, February of next year.
Great. Thank you.
And also just want to add on to that we are working very closely now with the US government in terms of Air Force Research Lab in upstate New York. So that's something that is going on, very exciting, and opening up that aerospace.
Is that Rome?
Yeah, that's in Rome.
Okay. Great. Wippich.
Well, for us, it's traction again, and I'm really happy to say that we do collaborate with others in that early emerging domain, like Polaris. We worked with your development build to actually eventually provide an annealer capable of running your workloads much faster and cheaper, and also providing something which is difficult to get in the established players, namely our flexibility to the customer needs. You say you need more than 1,000 samples out of the single run, you'll be getting more than 1,000 samples out of the single run, because we can do that and we can accommodate other needs like this, having access to the source and having developed several variants of our platform. So for us, it's relatively easy to accommodate needs like this. And this is, as I said, this is a stopgap for us because we really wait till hardware guys deliver quantum computers able to surpass the capabilities of the classical ones, which hasn't happened yet. So we are actively working in that domain. Our focus is on fault-tolerant systems, because like majority, we believe that you need fault tolerance to be able to achieve quantum advantage. So that's where we are. We are not really actively, well, we do actively rise, but we have closed half of our round now, and we have a solid leads for the remaining part, including EIC grant. We are good for next 3 years, and we hope to deliver a lot within this time frame.
Great, thank you for that. Okay, I want to dig in a little bit here, and I want to start with NanoQT. Can you talk, part of what you've explained to me is that, your hardware approach is a bit different. You presented on that today. Can you talk a little bit more about how you're bringing, sort of another hardware type technology to this, and how do you see that moving forward? Sort of what's the advantage?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So here, what we're developing right now is probably corresponding to 0-1, like quantum plane. And like, honestly speaking, we are focusing on quantum plane right now, but to achieve the further scalabilities, we need to take care of, especially around the quantum control plane. While I mentioned our approach is quite unique, but there is a still commonality, especially with the neural atom platforms, and because of the frequency, of the lasers and all of, like, most of the control toolkits to control the quantum plane.
So it's you're saying like terbium neutral? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So there are already, powerful vendors, partnership partners in this field. So, to have a collaboration with those providers will be probably the way to go. for us as an immediate next step.
Okay, great. And you're also starting to look at doing links as well, as I understand, transduction, that sort of thing down the road, right?
Correct. Yes. So I believe that the quantum network is still emerging, especially in terms of not only hardware but also like applications. So I mean, as a community, we need to pursue what is the kind of impactful application using quantum networks. So those activities is definitely needed.
Okay, fantastic. So let's jump to Polaris. So, you know, 6 and 7. So how are you approaching this today with the limitations of, you know, intermediate scale noisy quantum? How are you approaching 6 and 7 today? And what are your approaches that you're contemplating in the future with quantum computing?
Right. So right now we're completely consolidated around annealing approaches, as was previously mentioned. So being that we're operating at the application level primarily, we are writing some algorithms as well. We are not as affected by the intermediate scale today. We're mostly concerned with the ability to express as much of our problem set as we can. So right now, given the size, the dimensionality of our solution spaces, we're actually having to do some subsampling to be able to fully explore them. Mostly, I'm very excited for the future with having larger interconnection patterns, either on annealing systems or forthcoming gate computers, because we can deal with very essentially short range interactions. And I don't mean short range from the quantum perspective, but what we're actually dealing with is chemistry, right? So if I'm looking at a set of atoms in a biological system, we're concerned with atoms that are very nearby. But if a protein folds, the solution may be the far side of it, and it may be a longer range connection that we can't currently map that into the current hardware space, the current exposed APIs to be able to get the degree of connectedness we need. So very excited about that, but that is where we are today, is more localized in our interactions.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So for Boson, Abhishek, how are you making this work today?
Yeah, so for BQP, it's 5, 6, and actually 7 as well. I think so. We pride ourselves on the 7. The reason and why we do that is because currently, just looking at, for example, CFD, back in my grad school days when I was developing large CFD simulations for HPC, first on CPU and then on GPU, a lot of the classical algorithm doesn't scale up on GPU. And that restricts on the CFD community to solve massive problems. What BosonQ Psi is trying to do is that how can we find those more, you can say, efficient algorithm using quantum that will start to scale things on the GPU side of things first. So really HPC using MPI and CUDA. And then we are also working on the R&D side with the quantum hardware side of things and the middleware side of things. But that's more on the R&D and letting the things grow while we focus on what we can do with today's HPC. So that's how we like to see it, because there's enough to spend time on this first part. But yes, we are keeping our eyes open. One also interesting thing is, how do you manage your HPC workload? Which parts of quantum algorithm can go into CPU, can go into GPU when QPU is ready, then how it will be between CPU, GPU, and QPU. You can add TPU between that, FPGAs, but mainly these are the 3 that we are focusing today.
Okay, great. And then for BEIT, Wojciech, how are you doing making this work today?
I don't think we are really playing in the control plane, if you mean by that the FPGA logic controlling the qubits and their interactions. I would say it's 4, and all the layers above. Our stack description is slightly different, but it just doesn't matter. So for us, we were coming from two assumptions. You cannot tell the platform.
Yeah.
Would that be, I really love the idea I've heard today about the network computing and getting the compute out of the network, because that's what people struggle with. Even if you have like 433 qubit IBM large processor, the connections within don't let you entangle the whole thing unless in the very specific way. So essentially you cannot compute on the whole machine because your circuit depth is something like 30, maybe 20 there. And having the connectivity, being able to quantumly link different smaller quantum processors gives path to the scale. So I really appreciate what I've heard before. We don't know when it will happen. We are saying that current NISQ evolution will bring quantum advantage between 10 years from now and never, while the fault tolerant systems can do that much faster. So we think it's worthwhile to do the preparation for that. And our IP and patents actually will provide significant speed up at the moment when it happens, whenever it happens, and the platform on which it happens, whatever the platform is. But in the meantime, we are just not sitting back and waiting. We are providing the quantum-inspired solution in the annealing space or solving problems expressed like QUBA, which is the typical quantum way of doing the annealing. We have the exact solver, so you can check your solution, the validity of your algorithm, and be guaranteed to get to the optimum. And then you can compare that with much larger scale using our annealers. I'm really looking forward for the development. I can mention the name now with Cerebras from California, because we found another way of using their huge wafer-sized chip, normally used for the AI machine learning models. And we are able to do the annealing on this one. For the annealer, and people who use the annealers will know what that means, which has something like 100,000 variables and 200 couplings per variable available. So that would be huge, and you'll be able to reach to the scales impossible for other tools right now. So that's our stopgap, but we are really looking for quantum advantage, because then we'll really deliver out of our patent portfolio.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. I was struck by this, that, a lot of people that I've met in quantum computing come from the research side of physics. Some come from computing, but some of you actually are coming from high performance computing, which I think is unique because quantum computing is still early. And Bill, you're one of those people. Can you say, can you give some highlight to why should people on the leading edge of high performance computing, classically based, should be getting into quantum computing?
Sure, happy to. My background is high performance computing. I've worked on a variety of systems over the years. I've stood up a lot of things in the cloud. You can quickly get into nasty tangles with people being more concerned about the underlying compute, the complexities of distributed computing. Are you using MapReduce? How are you queuing your jobs? Yada, yada, yada. Our solution space is, again, trillions of molecules. We're using the quantum computer to do essentially a dimensionality reduction step, going from trillions down to a computable number of very high resolution computations on the cloud. So it's mostly about using the right tool for the job. We're not doing high fidelity calculations on the quantum computer. We are simply doing dimensionality reduction to get to targeted chemistry spaces that we need that are appropriate and germane for more conventional HPC. I hope that it's a little long-winded, but does that make sense?
You also talked, yeah, that's great, but you also talked about how HPC has sort of limitations in addressing these large molecules. And, so how do you look at that?
So that is that we are expressing our problem in either way. I can express the combinatorial space for conventional HPC or for an annealing system. With an HPC, I end up doing a lot of distribution, MapReduce sort of operations, and spin up a lot of resources. Whereas if I can express it as a QUBO, I'm expressing it as a single unified data structure, and getting a consolidated set of results back. It's not exactly a one-stop shop, but from my experience of almost 20 years, this is a much less painful solution. It does require reformulating the problem itself to fit into a QUBO format, but with the computational chemist we work with, it's been a very natural and reasonable approach.
Okay, great, thank you. Any thoughts on this, Wojciech?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there is a very strong connection between the two, namely because quantum computing eventually will replace HPC or be part of the HPC offering, because the using quantum computer for the problem which doesn't have sufficient scale is just a waste of resources, right? And we know that the problems which we are operating with, like Polaris, but also others in warehousing, in logistics, scale really badly with the problem size. So you can tackle small instances relatively easily on almost anything. But when you get to the real business scale, like in our case with Ocado, right? We were able to do stuff for them, both quantumly and classically. Nevertheless, what they operated in real life was even larger, meaning their system was not run at the optimality. And there was no HPC on this planet able to actually optimally calculate the movement of the robots in their warehouse because it was too big. So quantum offers a path to something which is larger and better scaling eventually. And even currently, you know, if you remember the supremacy experiment by Google on their Sycamore chip, essentially simulating Sycamore chip on the Sycamore chip. And there was a discussion with IBM people from Jülich. When Google said it will take thousands of years or whatever the number was,
Yeah.
and those guys said, well, come on, it's 2 days if you operate our machine properly. So it's now direct competition to the emerging quantum space, but eventually will merge into a single offering. You'll be tackling large problems using quantum processors in the HPC environment.
Yeah, great. Abhishek, anything to add on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So how, coming again from hardcore HPC of first dealing with this CFD codes on CPUs using MPI and how it scaled, and then tackling the problem that these things actually the legacy codes doesn't scale very well on GPUs is where the whole thesis of starting BosonQ Psi came from. So when we are designing what we are designing, we are seeing very carefully on the HPC workload, on what parts can be done on CPUs, what can be done on GPUs, and then what can be done on QPUs. Because just like in simulations, there's a lot of steps involved. You have pre-processing step, you have the solving step, which is, you have to do a lot of deterministic calculation, and then you have to do some compute heavy part, and then you have to do post-processing. Not everything requires quantum. Some of these will stay in CPUs, some of this is being done right now on GPUs by the community and by us. And then when QPU comes in, is that the compute heavy part of that whole stack goes into quantum, and that's where we are we are focusing on what algorithms really can scale that very well up right now on HPC on GPUs and then on QPU. So the future is going to, I agree with the other speakers, it's going to look like CPU, GPUs and QPUs, and it's basically an HPC workload question, and I don't see a future, at least for the simulation domain, where there will be just quantum or just HPC or the challenge between.
Right. Thank you. Mashashi.
Yeah, I think it's a quite interesting discussion. My thought is HPC people enters because it's still HPC and quantum computing are complementary. And also HPCs, I think business model probably quite similar to quantum computing as of now. And also scientifically quite interesting. So for example, in Japan, there is an institution called RIKEN, which hosts one of the most powerful HPC called Fugaku. And also they put the quantum computer, and they pursue the computational science like a frontier by using hybrid systems of HPC and quantum computing. So there's a lot of science there. So that's why I think communication between these HPC and quantum computing industries are happening. So that's what I'm.
Yeah, great. And thank you, Piotr. So you partner with these companies, and you have some familiarity around quantum computing. Anything you want to add to this conversation?
Well, ultimately, it will be a hybrid solution. Quantum computing will be part of high performance computing, advanced computing. The sooner the better. I look forward to it. Ultimately, we'll have a thriving software industry because in addition to programming quantum computers, you will have to make proper connections to HPCs. So I'm in the optimist camp and then just waiting it to happen or be happening. It's happening.
Right, and in your quantum startup Foundry, do you have other companies working in the quantum computing area?
Yes, optimization problems for supply chain, for space, for locating charging stations, for example, for EV cars. We have companies looking into computational fluid dynamics, similarly to Abhishek.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay, I want to
We
go.
also have Mark. I will.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I will add one more, which I am particularly excited about. They are conceptual stage, very early, no funding and so on, but tackling, just a business problem. There is no hardware that would deliver for this idea, but they are tackling the problem of rendering, which has applications for entertainment, for virtual reality stuff, and then so on. We are pretty much at the edge of capabilities to compute for those applications.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Piotr. So I want to go back to Bill. So what questions are you hearing most from your customers, clients today?
They want to understand how they can leverage quantum computing in a actionable way to get results that they need. It's, again, coming from my background, it's very easy to get into fanboy whiz bang, like, oh, this amazing, cool tech. And it certainly is. But at the end of the day, most of our clients are interested in how do we get to better molecules? And again, that goes back to the issue of the classical training of the primary support staff and software engineers involved in our domain, computational chemistry. Think about this and how am I implementing this code for a conventional CPU? How am I taking a interesting paper and translating it from interesting discourse into an algorithm that'll run on a GPU in a usable way. So trying to express, that is the biggest hurdle that we've encountered for with our customers, is understanding how to map the domain to the applicable technology. That's nuts and bolts of it.
Okay, great. Abhishek.
Yeah, for us, I think so. Where we are as at the forefront, where the industries and the players, still think that quantum is a science fiction. So for us, the level one that we are trying to, and we solve usually in the first phase of any customer interaction, is to show that these problems ran on classical simulation software, on classical systems. And this ran with the Q5, which is integrated with quantum algorithms on classical system. And they want to first see, can you do that? Can you do that? That's number one. Number two is, can you do that accurately? The benchmarking problems. And then anything, once they have that kind of confidence, is when we start going into what is now possible, what is possible 3 years from now, and then what is possible from 5 years now. It's more of than a scale-up problem. And how we are easing this mind is, again, we come from the HPC narrative that, they don't have to worry about where the hardware is coming from. The hardware will be provided as part of our software, which also eases their mind up. But just with that kind of phase, the curiosity of customers starts to increase, and then they start to invite us in think tank within their company, like, okay, what is something else is possible? Is AI possible? Is ML possible? Is supply chain? And all these kind of things starts to then open up, and we provide our feedback to those things. And then also we have good relations with other companies in the quantum ecosystem who are doing that today, and we bring them in front of them that, if you want to do this, we have partners who can do it through. So that's really where most of our conversations are at when it comes to customers.
Okay.
And again, we deal with in 3 different geographies right now. India, which is early, US, which is just starting off, at least where we are and what kind of things we are. And then I feel Europe is a little bit more mature, where they have quantum people within their team. So that it makes a difference.
Great. Thank you. Full check.
Well, for us, we have 2 tiers of customers. One is the hardware manufacturers, and I'm really happy to hear from them, when can you run your stuff on our machine to show it shining, right? So that's a good position to be on. And the other tier is their customers, so people having large-scale problems, and we are most interested in them. And the question is, can you help us, essentially, whether our software can improve what they have now? And I'll be happy to say yes to those questions. We work with partners in those 2 tiers, as we do now.
Okay, great. Masashi, you want to add to that? I know you're early, and you're very early, right?
Yeah. So another question around like hardware, like how it works, how it's different from like existing modalities, like ion traps, neutral atoms, and what's good about our systems. So those questions are quite, they're often asked by future end users.
I see. Okay. So I'm going to flip this a little bit. Piotr, so you're director at this Foundry, and you're partnering with these companies. What are you hearing from potential investors? What's the feedback from the companies you partner with?
We strive to make direct connections. We developed good relationships with several venture capital firms, and the collaboration is going really well. We provide sort of a pipeline of candidates, if you will, that on which at least light diligence was performed, and that collaboration works really well. And especially if you combine it with our capability to invest in companies. Discovery Fund is at this stage a very small fund, not large checks, but we like to piggyback on some of those investments.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to go back to Bill again. So what are your customers getting out of your solutions today? I think you covered some of this, but anything else to highlight there?
Just the breadth of chemistry we are able to access, and looking at, if you look at some of the commercial rapid synthesis libraries that are, again, in this case, the billions of molecules, those are infeasible things even for the A-list players to tractably search using conventional approaches. So we're able to actually deliver those results both from rapid synthesis libraries, but also really novel chemistry. We do have some customers who are interested to explore what other questions can they ask and represent that is outside of their primary R&D sphere skill set, that they can bring us into the fold, and we can act as an, if you will, outsourced R&D shop for them. So really excited about those potential engagements.
Yeah, great. And then Abhishek, so you're doing quite a bit of work with some of your POCs, right? So what are they getting out of this? You showed some pretty large potential savings in some of the engineering for some car parts and other things, right? So what are they getting out of this today from their perspective?
A purely business advantage, I would say. This is where customers are, is that they want, and we are doing optimization problems. So a lot of the EV companies right now are struggling with weight reduction as a big thing. So is aerospace companies. So now when we ask them, why are you facing this problem? You have traditional tools. They say that, first of all, just by naked eye, they can get to like 6%, reduction in the weight. The current tools is then just giving maybe 0.5% more addition. They are stuck. They just cannot do beyond what classical algorithms has to offer. Now, with our approach, with our algorithm, it's just like I said, better computer science. They are able to get to more optimal answers because we are accelerating something called as evolutionary approach. What that does is it unlocks the potential for these companies to start getting into the designs and the optimal designs that they were not able to get before. And that in itself is of huge value. It helps them to save a lot of cost in terms of material. It helps them to optimize their car designs, because then their powertrain has changed. You don't need that kind of heavy motors and all. And then finally, which is I think is the most important for the future of EV, they're able to get increase in the range of their car, which is again a big factor. So this is what they're able to get out, and this has nothing to do with quantum computer as of right now. When we have that, this will be much more. But even today, there is enough business value for our customers in that with algorithms.
I see. And would you characterize it as they're collaborating with you on these solutions today, or are they realizing what you're offering and actually pulling?
It's more of a pull, because everybody's struggling. Come from that industry. We don't have to, give them a complete pitch. We just have to tell them we have a simulation software which can do this for you. They draw the value themselves. So it's more of a pull that we are seeing than a push. But yes, it requires that our presence in such forums and in different areas where they can listen to us, that there is something out there, and then it becomes more of a pull effect.
So would you characterize it as how hard is it for them to get started with your company?
We are making it as easy as possible. We are not asking them to change any of their current stack. I think so that's a big pain point, which we have learned from experience, that no customers wants to add another simulation software on their stack. What we are doing is we are offering our optimization as an integration to the big players like ANSYS, PTC, Dassault, Siemens. So whatever they're currently doing their finite element, for example, on or CFD on, we just add on to top of that. So that makes them very easy. And the way they get started is they give us a you can say a toy problem to just again do that benchmarking. Once they see that, okay, we are getting, for this problem, same results as quantum. Now let's start to increase the problem size. So that's more initial, is sort of a consulting or a solution based model, and then we provide our solution to them, and it becomes a SaaS play, and they're doing that on their existing tools. So nothing changes from them. So the step curve or the GTM is very easy in that regard.
I see. Wojciech, how is this working for BEIT today?
Actually, as I told, we are waiting for the big prize when the quantum advantage happens, or about then, because we are bringing this forward by several years with the advantage we offer in regardless of being hardware agnostic. But in the meantime, our quantum inspired offering provides several things which are pretty unique. One is the size. There is no annealer I know about Fujitsu DAO and the clusters of Fujitsu DAO. There's no annealer of the size which we'll be able to provide by the end of this year. So if our customers are familiar with Kubo methodology and reducing the problems to that computational model, we're able to help them like now. We'll have a way of, I don't know how much into detail you want me to go, but if you do on the existing quantum annealer, you do your stuff, your constraints you can program in with a lot of effort are not always fulfilled by the result you are getting. And we can do this in such a way that the constraints can be part of the Kubo run. However, our customers and people we work with usually bypass this by having a lot of samples and applying constraints they need to apply in the post-processing on those samples. So we can do the better sample selection and live completely within their current computational model, just replacing Kubo runs on D-Wave hardware with runs on our stuff without changing absolutely anything, just pointing to different machine, and that's all. So the size is bigger, the constraints are fulfilled, and then you are also getting much cheaper runs because we are running on the AWS classical hardware, which is cheaper. Yet another thing is our flexibility. So if you need any changes, good luck trying to introduce them onto the D-Wave hardware on control systems. But for us, it's just a matter of collaborating and working with the customer to mutual benefit.
I see. Thank you. Maciej, you said that it's a little too early. You're not really getting this far down, but you must be sort of understanding with some customers what they first want to see, right?
Yeah. So so we're developing the universal quantum computers. So I believe most of the algorithms which has been developed for should run on our system. But but I do expect more not only scientifically but also economically impactful applications emerging. Not in addition to really like decryption, right? Like Shor's algorithms. That's really industry-wise effort is needed to really identify those applications. Hopefully, before we develop the fault-tolerant quantum computing, because there's still way to go. So we need to identify those applications for the commercialization. That's
right.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Okay, we're actually going to send out a poll for a few minutes, so everybody in the audience that's still left, it'd be great to get your feedback. But in the meantime, I want to talk a little bit about how the company's presenting today. How can you partner with each other? Some of you, it sounds like you're already doing that. So Bill, you and Wojciech are partnering. So Bill, how does that work?
So I haven't been deeply involved in that. That's been my lead software developer.
Okay.
I do know that we have successfully transformed part of our Kubo representation and ported over and successfully run there very happily. It's been a great working experience, and I know my team has really enjoyed interacting with his team. That is what we have on right now. I'm very curious to hear about the future for Mashimoto and what is coming out of his technology stack in the future. That's what
Me too.
pricks my ear the most right here today.
Yeah, very exciting. Yep, exactly. And then Wojciech, how do you see, you're talking about partnering with Polaris? Are you looking at others as well?
Actually, you put us in contact previously, or you being the quantum startup Foundry. When I first heard about from Morris, the developer we are working with from Polaris, at the Quantum World Congress, it was like, hey, we should be working together, right? And
Yes.
then, Morris started his experiments on a toy we put up on our website, which is really a Kubo solver, but very small and reflecting the structure of D-Wave like 3 years back. And obviously the results were not that satisfactory. But when we made our annealer available, which does what current D-Wave does and uses the same language, out of sudden we were able to get the results which were expected and much faster and cheaper. We are before the commercial part of our collaboration, but it should be easy as our estimates show that we will be significantly cheaper than D-Wave. And also we can run larger instances and we can make the constraints being fulfilled within the system. I wouldn't push Polaris into changing their workflow. Baby steps. So just replace the Kubo runs without paying attention to constraints, but will provide better sample set. You know, if you go into the annealing, you end up at the end of the run, you end up with very similar solutions, changing small irrelevant variables, getting the same energy essentially. So you'll be getting, if you do that way, you'll be getting very similar starting points for further post-processing. And we can do much better than this, selecting different yet close in the energy, close states and close vectors for the post-processing to run on. So I think that's the nearest future of the collaboration, and I'm looking forward to getting into the commercial side for us for this, because it will be our first commercial contract, which is big for us, right? Running on grants and investment gets you only this far, and getting the commercialization of your stuff is the way to go.
Yeah, great, thank you. Abhishek, the companies presented today, who do you see you can potentially partner with? I don't know, do you know everybody here?
Yeah.
How do you, yeah.
Yeah, I met some of the people and their other folks in the company at different conferences. Heard about Polaris first time at the UMD a few months back, and where I see, especially with Polaris, is that there is different markets. One coming in the Northeast, especially whether you take Boston, you take Jersey, you take upstate New York, where I am right now. There's enough people who want to take this kind of an application. For them, quantum might not matter, but they care about that advantage that is being shown even today. So just connecting company like Polaris to those folks who we come across, because we cannot solve them, but definitely Polaris can. And through that, I think so. I met Masha Hasi in one of the conferences, I do remember. And there, when we are developing these hybrid approaches and fault-tolerant algorithms, we need, systems to work on. We will be the workhorse at bringing massive, CFD applications and structured applications to these quantum computers. So starting off this early, getting that knowledge transfer between what type of things we want to run, what is the mathematics, and we can very quickly translate what a customer needs to how that maps to quantum algorithms or quantum stack. And that's where we see, even with BEIT, that again, there are a lot of applications to be done, a lot of algorithms to be developed. Not everything can be done by BosonQ Psi. We can come in at that level where we can present, to the quantum scientists that this is how can we map this problem and do that. And then once we develop that together, making it an application and selling it as a software can be done by BosonQ Psi. So those are my thoughts from knowing these companies, and of course Piotr has been kind enough for giving us these opportunities to come to these places, meet the great ecosystem. And one, I would like to utilize this platform to also invite the quantum companies to upstate New York, where there's end user community forming, and we would love to have you guys speak in front of that end user community, who again might not understand quantum, but I'm making that first stride for that. You come in and use that platform to sell your customers.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Mashahashi.
Yeah, it is really great to be connected to different, especially like a layup stack, and also in different geographical location. And
Yeah.
yes, as you know, we are in really quantum plane, and we need a really expertise from a control layer on also software layers and applications. So we are very open to like collaborations with those like startups and also academic institutions. That because one of our pain point is also like, what is the useful application using distributed quantum computing? Everybody knows that, you know, computational power is going up because it's you know, it's a scale up. But is there anything in addition? Like, is there anything useful if we have more than 2 different computers which are, you know, communicate each other with entanglement? Is there anything like useful application? I think those questions still open, and we really want to have a collaboration with you know, applications startup like Abhishek and also Bill and Wojciech. So that active collaboration is definitely needed. And also our aspiration is not to be, you know, only located in Japan. We want to be like a global. We want to have a collaborations with foreign partners. So those opportunities is really, you know, exciting, and what I wish to have in the future. And toward that goal, I think this platform is quite helpful for us.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
I just want to quickly add on Ashashi. So I think so the Q2B is currently happening in Japan, and my counterpart, the team from India who's covering the Asia market, is already there and connecting it. It would be great to have that kind of, you know, in-person meeting and start this and take this discussion forward.
Right.
Also in my slide I presented, and I invite other quantum companies like BosonQ Psi is now fully set up to go on write SBIR and STTR grants here in US. In UK, we also have a UK presence there. We have Innovate UK grants that we can do, and then in India we have already gone to grants. So I would invite you guys to come work with us, and we have the roots, and through that we can have those joint collaborations with somebody funding this early efforts, and then we take on and commercialize that in the future.
Great. Thank you. Very looking forward to that.
And with that, sorry, Piotr, since you brought this cohort together here, group, as you say, anything you want to say about the Foundry? And thank you for all of this today. You know, anything you want to say about the Foundry and potential startups that are looking to partner with the Foundry?
Absolutely. We are open to collaborations. We are very excited because our renovation project is in progress for our permanent location. It's going to be very nice, modern space, office, training, collaboration, lab space. And that will be part of the deal with companies seeking to set up business in Maryland. Please join us, or at least have a conversation, because even if you decide to go elsewhere to set up your business, still partnering opportunities with Maryland are immense, and we'll explore those very happily.
Great, thank you.
Mark, can I say a few words on this one as well?
Yeah.
We do already collaborate with Polaris, that's given, but I really love to work with any hardware startup. So Masashi, I would really love to work with you because we are staying hardware agnostic because we don't know which architecture will win, but what you provide is a way towards the scalable quantum computers. Everybody else is blocked because they cannot transfer entanglement across multiple qubits, and you can do this. And I don't care that it's your computational model is different. We are working with cold atoms guys, which are based on the Rydberg radius essentially, so their computational model is also different, and being able to actually abstract over this is crucial. So that's very interesting for us, and we do partner with Keio University, people there on search. We work together. I would love to work with you on getting most of your architecture, because that's something which always worked for us in the past.
So Mark, I will add one more thing to it. I mean, part of my job is to make those type of connections, to make collisions where, you know, the value can be created out of the sum of the parts. So great to hear, Wojtek, that you see an opportunity with Masashi.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
that's great. But with that,
yes.
I'm gonna let me just finish this off here. So we have the next one of these is going to be components in quantum with a very exciting lineup. That's on August 31st.